Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 969A, and today's date is May 12th, 2016, and the title of the episode is, The U.S. Government and the Central Bank Are Out of Time. The Economy is Done. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. On the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, I uploaded an interview with Andy Hoffman. So if you go over to X22 Report Spotlight on YouTube, you'll see the video there. Or you can come over to the x22report.com site, scroll down a little bit, you'll see the interview on the right-hand side. Or you can go to newssentinel.com, same thing, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, and you can play the video there. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, what's very interesting is that every time they tell us that the economy is improving, everything is fine, look, we see improvement in the Eurozone, the economic growth across the 19-country Eurozone is doing very, very well. They do it in the United States, and they always go back in time and they revise the data. And this is what we're seeing right now. Remember a month ago, it wasn't even that long ago, they've been telling us how the Eurozone is doing much, much better. It's recovering. They see economic growth. And what they did is they went back in time and said, okay, March declined by 1.2%. February also declined. And that surge of 2.4% in January is completely erased. They went back, they revised the numbers, and the economy isn't doing as well as they said. This was all propaganda to make everyone believe the economy of Europe was improving. The economy of Europe is not improving. It has been how many years now? 7 years. The unemployment rate has dropped, by 0.3% at the most, and that's, if you don't count the manipulation, most likely the unemployment rate has not dropped at all. Countries have been put into debt more so than been relieved of debt. Greece is worse off than 2008. Italy, their banks are a disaster. France is preparing for an economic disaster. Spain is a disaster. Nothing has improved. Germany, UK, with the Russian sanctions on top, not doing well. So nothing has improved whatsoever. What has been done? Well, they went to negative interest rates. That's not an improvement. They created more currency out of thin air. They purchased bad debt. They purchased corporate debt. But is there any improvement? No. Now, here in the United States, we've been seeing the initial jobless claims fall and fall and fall, while layoffs were going up and up and up. And of course, that doesn't make sense whatsoever. And we could tell that this was completely manipulated, because this is what manipulation looks like. When there's tons of layoffs, and I'm talking hundreds of thousands, actually millions of layoffs, and initial jobless claims are falling to, 1970 lows, you know something is up here. Now, all of a sudden, and they, of course, use the word unexpected, initial jobless claims are soaring right now. They've soared 20,000. Now, they can't explain this. Where did this come from? Well, it came from all the layoffs. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to erase all of this and manipulate the initial jobless claims even lower, because they have to keep this illusion alive. When we are in this collapse, the U.S. government, the central bankers, the corporate media, they're not going to come out and say, hi, everyone, we just want to let everyone know we're in a collapse right now, and don't worry, everything will be all right. No, they're not going to admit it. They're going to say, it's a bump in the road. This is temporary. The Fed is going to start printing currency once again. We're going to see QE, blah, 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 and everything will be pumped up once again. But that's just going to make the situation even worse. And as we go down the line, they will never admit it. Because why? If they do admit it, everything they told us prior was a lie. So what they're doing right now is they're setting it up to blame another group or another country. This is their main objective at this point. Now we see U.S. import prices. They have tumbled for 21 months in a row. Now what we're seeing right now is China is exporting deflation at the fastest pace since 2009. The Baltic Dry Index right now remains at 579. It didn't drop today. It's staying level. I wouldn't be surprised if it drops tomorrow. But we'll have to watch and see. Now I'm starting to see something very interesting. The demonization of gold. And they're trying to link gold to terrorist organizations, criminals, and whatnot. And I see these news stories that are coming out now. And we know the Fed is continually telling the world that gold is a barbarous relic. It's not real money. It's nothing. It's a brick of yellow nothing. Don't even own it. And that tells you should be owning a lot of it. It's funny because Russia and China, they're loading up on it. Other central banks in different countries are loading up on it. Countries are diversifying, getting out of the dollar, loading up on gold. But what we see right now, and this should be another signal letting you know where we are headed at this point, they're saying that terrorist organizations have been switching to illicit gold trade from narcotics to fund their activities. George Mason University Terrorism, Transnational Crime and Corruption Center, Director Louise Shelley said, this is what terrorists are doing right now. They have enormous flexibility and ability to switch between sources of revenue. There is now a large illicit trade in gold. And she is saying that criminals, terrorist organizations, they're using this to fund their operations. So those people that are dealing in gold, be warned that you could be linked to a terrorist. And if you're found with gold on you, maybe you're a terrorist. And it's very interesting how these stories are starting to come out. Now, this is another signal, because what happens is when we start moving into this period of a collapse scenario, we're going to see more and more stories come out and how gold is not good. Criminals use it just like cash. Criminals, drug dealers use cash. And this is another flashing red signal letting us know that we're getting closer and closer to this collapse. If you notice, gold was brought down a little bit, but they can't bring it down that much. Tomorrow, I'm sure it's going to skyrocket once again. And it's getting more and more difficult for them to suppress gold. And when they lose control, it's just going to skyrocket. And this is why we are watching this. Because there will come a point when you see gold going up and up and up, and they're bringing it down by maybe $5 or $10, you know right there that we're in the end game. Means the next month or two, you won't even be able to get gold. The price is going to skyrocket. Most likely they'll run out of gold. And if you don't have it, you're not going to get it. And when this happens, the collapse will be around the corner. And this is why you need to be prepared with gold, silver. You should have some cash on hand. You should have a weapon to protect your family. You should have toiletries, food, water, because we're going to see the dollar devalue. We're going to see riots. We're going to see people rush to the markets. It's going to be complete chaos because people are not going to know what happened. First, they'll be in shock. Then they're going to realize what's going on, and they're going to realize that the dollar is continually losing their value. They're going to go to the market, and you're going to see prices jump every so often, and they're going to say, okay, I better get this now, and there's going to be a run. And this is why you need to be prepared right now. And if you haven't started, you can go to lifereliance.com. They have water filtration. They have emergency foods. They'll work with you. They'll customize your order. And whatever you're doing, you need to do this right now, because the clock is ticking down. The U.S. government central bankers, they are out of time. And from everything that we've been looking at, the collapse, it's going to be horrific. It's going to come straight down. You're just going to wake up one morning, you're going to be staring at the TV, the stock market's going to be dropping, the corporate media is going to try to explain it away, but they won't be able to. And everyone that you speak to is going to get nervous, because you have to remember, this affects a lot of things. Pensions, housing, bonds, gold, silver, the value of the dollar, corporate earnings, employment. So when you see this, it's going to be complete chaos. Now, Obama has switched things up with his Affordable Care Act, and we know the government has spent about $2.4 billion creating 23 nonprofit healthcare cooperatives, which were intended to help drive down the insurance costs. But that is not the case, because as we know, insurance costs are skyrocketing. 12 of the 23 co-ops are non-existent. They lost a lot of money. And the remaining 11, they have already lost about $400 million last year. Now, the Obama administration is changing the rules midstream so that the remaining 11 co-ops can have state governments place officials on their boards of directors and make it easier to attract outside investors. This move makes it possible for state bailouts. And of course, he just likes to change things on the fly. Now, there was a major court ruling today by Judge Rosemary Collyer. She was appointed by President George W. Bush. And she said the administration does not have the power to spend money on cost-sharing reduction payments to insurers without an appropriation from Congress. She stated her ruling, but the administration can appeal the decision. Now, there are billions and billions of dollars at issue right now because it falls under the cost-sharing reduction payments. And what this really is that Obamacare will pay insurance companies so they can reduce out-of-pocket costs such as deductibles for low-income people on Obamacare plans. Now, the administration argued it did not need an appropriation from Congress because the funds were already permanently appropriated by Obamacare in the same section as the law's better-known tax credits that help people afford coverage. However, the judge ruled that the section only appropriated funds for tax credits and said the cost-sharing reductions require a separate congressional appropriation, which the administration does not currently have. And she said such an appropriation cannot be inferred. So her ruling does make sense. And first of all, most of Obamacare is unconstitutional anyhow. We know the Judge Roberts was bribed because he was completely against it. And then one day he woke up, said, okay, it's constitutional, and left the country for 2 weeks. But of course, what Obama's going to do is he's going to take this to a higher court, make sure they have a judge that is being blackmailed, and they'll rule in his favor. Now, if they can't blackmail a judge, this could mean the end of Obamacare, because so far, Obamacare is not working out. It is not a benefit for people. And if you have to keep changing the laws on the fly, which is completely unconstitutional, this tells you right there, this is not for the people whatsoever. This Obamacare insurance is a complete failure. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.